Dear students, welcome to the first session of auditing subject of BBA final semester. In this first session, we will learn about meaning and definition of auditing, the features of auditing. The essence of auditing, the need for study of auditing comes with the importance of decisions which has to be taken in the course of business, the stakeholders of the business, owners of the business, and others. These decisions are very important for the survival, for the growth of the organization as well as other members. Decisions are dependent upon the information which is available at the time of decision which is made. ನಾವು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳು ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕುವಂತಹ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಧರಿಸಿರುತ್ತವೆ. ಈ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿರುತ್ತವೆ. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಹಿಂಪಡೆಯಲು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಹಿಂಪಡೆದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹಿಂಪಡೆಯೋದು ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ. ಸೊ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡ ಮೇಲೆ ಅದರ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಅದರ ಪ್ರಭಾವವನ್ನು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ನೋಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳಿಂದ ಒಳಿತು ಆಗಬಹುದು, ಕೆಡುಕು ಆಗಬಹುದು. ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಆದಷ್ಟು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ನಡೆಸಿ ಅದರ ಆಗು ಹೋಗುಗಳು, ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು ಕೆಟ್ಟದ್ದನ್ನ ಅಂದಾಜು ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳುವ. ಈ ಅಂದಾಜು ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ಈ ಕೆಲಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಅತಿ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಿರುವುದು ಮಾಹಿತಿ, ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್. ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ರಿಲಯಬಲ್. ಅದನ್ನು ಯಾವುದೇ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಆಧರಿಸಿ ನಾವೊಂದು ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ನಂಬಲರ್ಹವಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು, ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇಡುವಂತಹ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ವರ್ದಿಯಾ ಅಂತ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಕಪ್ ಅಥವಾ ನಾವೇನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ನಂಬಲರ್ಹವಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾವು ನಂಬ್ತೇವೆ. ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಇಸ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್. ಬಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಲಯಬಲ್ is when a person who has no stake or who has no bias or who has no interest in the particular information other than his professional nature, then we will take the information to be more reliable. If I say my son or daughter is the best, then it is biased. Why? Because my son, my daughter will be best for me always. ಹೆತ್ತವರಿಗೆ ಹೆಗ್ಗಣ ಮುದ್ದು. But if an outsider, let us take a teacher or a professional who knows him or her, tells that your son or daughter or this person X or Mr. Y is a hard-working, good-working, trustworthy person, then that particular comment or that information will be more valuable because the third party has got no interest, vested interest. This is an example. Now, similarly, in case of an organization, a business concern, it will give us lots of information by way of profit and loss account, balance sheet, fund flow statement, cash flow statement. But is this information reliable? Because it is prepared by the employee of the organization. ಒಬ್ಬ ಕಂಪನಿಯ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ಆದವ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ಆದವನೇ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ನಂಬಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾ ಅನ್ನುವ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವನ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ತನ್ನ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯರಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿರೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಂಬಲರ್ಹ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಟು ಎನ್ಶೂರ್ that the information which is received is more reliable and trustworthy, we normally get this particular books of accounts audited by independent person. ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಆಡಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತೇವೆ, ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವರ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಕೇರ್ ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ನ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ ನಾಲೆಜಿಗೆ, ತಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ನಾಲೆಜಿಗೆ ಅನುಸಾರವಾಗಿ ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಆ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಸರಿ ಇದೆಯೇ, ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೋ, ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಆಡಿಟೆಡ್, the financial information once audited becomes more reliable, and this information when it is used in business decision making, it is likely to be more complete, more accurate and more unbiased. ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಅಕ್ಯುರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿರೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಹಾಗೂ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಆ ಪೂರ್ವ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ಪೂರ್ವಾಗ್ರಹ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವಾಗಿ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಅವನು ಯಾವುದೇ ಪೂರ್ವಾಗ್ರಹವಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ನಂಬಲು ಯೋಗ್ಯವಾಗಿರುವಂತದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಬಲಿಷ್ಠವಾಗಿಯೂ ಸುದೃಢವಾಗಿಯೂ ಆಗುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬರುವಂತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯು ಆಡಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ವೆರಿಫೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಬೈ ಎ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋನ್ ಆಸ್ ಆಡಿಟಿಂಗ್. Now, how does this audit came into existence? In this modern day of economy, modern times, we see that the businesses have grown to such an extent. ಇಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬೆಳೆದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, the business have expanded beyond geographical area, beyond physical limitations. So we are in a world where businesses are running virtually. So there are businesses which are running without having physical assets. For example, Ola, Uber nantha dodda service providers, they don't own cars, but still they give you car services. There are organized, today we are working from home without even offices, without even having physical infrastructure. We are working from home. Now this talks about the complexity, the widespread business operations and the nature of business. So it's not just about goods today, it's about services not only in person, it's online, virtual. There are so many services available because of the complex nature of the business, and also following the complexity of the business. Modern accountancy, the growth of auditing profession has also contributed for the study of auditing today. We will first understand how did auditing as a profession or auditing as a stream of education started or begin. The term auditing comes from the word audit, and the word audit comes from the Latin term called audire, which means to hear. Audire means to hear. Earlier in the 18th century, when the businesses rapidly grew, 18ನೇ ಶತಮಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸಸ್ಗಳು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪಾಂಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ, businessmen could not maintain the records on their own, and they started appointing people. If you go to the olden terms, when the business accounts were maintained by persons who were in charge of receiving and paying cash on behalf of their principal. ಹಳೆಯ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮೆನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ರಿಸಿಪ್ಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಯಾರು ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಅವರೇ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೀತಿದ್ರು. ಯಾವಾಗ ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆ ನಡೆಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಫ್ರಾಡ್ ಆದಾಗ ಅಥವಾ ಓನರಿಗೆ ಡೌಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ಇವರು ಅನ್ನುವಾಗ, ಅವರು ಆ ಊರಿನ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ನ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಗಳನ್ನ, ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲರ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರ ಹತ್ರ ಈ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಓದಿಸ್ತಿದ್ರು. Accountants used to read this out to the counselors or the judges, and these judges, with their knowledge, they used to decide whether the accounts have been properly kept or not. This process further grew more rapidly in the 18th century after the Industrial Revolution, because after Industrial Revolution, the businesses expanded beyond limits. Huge large-scale industries were established, lots of production. Businesses grew beyond geographical boundaries. So export import also started because of the inventions, because of the expeditions of different people. New land areas were found. We shall now go through this definition because auditing has grown because of the evolution in the businesses. Auditing initially was mere examination of records. However, it has developed into a specialized stream of education where we have Institute of Chartered Accountants in India who governs and regulates the auditor, the professional uh, auditor as a professional. Hence, it's important for us to know the definition of auditing. Spicer and Pegler has defined audit as an examination of the books of accounts and vouchers of a business, as will enable the auditor to satisfy himself that the balance sheet is properly drawn so as to exhibit a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the business, and the profit and loss account gives a true and fair view of the profit or loss for the financial period according to the best of his information and explanation given to him as shown by the books. So we can understand from this definition that auditing is nothing but an examination. Examination of what? We are going to examine the books. We are going to examine the ledger accounts maintained. We are going to examine the documentary evidences maintained by the business, which will all support, which will all be verified with an intention. The intention behind will be to satisfy whether the balance sheet which is prepared and the profit and loss account which is prepared based upon these books, accounts, and vouchers, they are properly drawn up, they reflect the proper position, they reflect the proper treatment, and the resulting profit or loss, whether it's true and fair. Now, how will he verify this? He will not only verify the books, he'll also seek information from the people who are in connection with the preparation of financial statements. He will seek information from the learned people in connection with the accounts which has been maintained. For example, in case of assets valuation of assets valuation, he'll seek the certificates from the valuers, and the vouchers, documentary evidence which has been given to him, he will verify them in person, and he will examine these records, this information with the knowledge which he possesses, the professional knowledge which he has with him, and then certify whether the particular documents which have been maintained or presented to him, they are reflecting the true and fair view of the business position, profitability position or not. He will express an opinion. Professor Ella Dixie further gives an definition telling that auditing is an examination of accounting records undertaken with the view to establish whether they are correctly and completely reflecting the transactions to which they relate. So the audit which we are the auditing activity which has been conducted is complete examination of records which has been maintained. The intention here again is to see that if the financial statements correctly and completely reflect, it is they are the records, the documentation which has been done, they match with that of the financial statements which has been presented, and the financial statements reflect the true and fair view of the business position. ICI further gives an explanation telling that auditing is an independent examination of financial information of any entity. Here, ICI has given a more comprehensive or a more clear definition which says auditing is an independent examination. So, independent. There is no relationship, there is no bias, there is no uh, influence of the businesses over this personnel. He has to be independent. That means if he's not independent, he cannot do the audit. So he should be independent. There should be an independent examination of financial information of any entity. Here, they are not concerned about whether it is profit oriented or not. It may be an NGO, it may be a non-profit organization, it may be a club, it may be a society, it may be an organization for philanthropic purpose, or it may be a trading or manufacturing concern which is engaged in the business for the objective of earning profit. Irrespective of the size, whether it is sole proprietorship concern or whether it's a multinational company, doesn't matter in its legal form, size or legal form. It may be a small firm having limited turnover, it may be 1 crore turnover, it may be 50 lakhs turnover, or it may be thousands of crores of turnover. It doesn't matter. And such an examination is conducted with the view of expressing an opinion thereon. So the examination will result here. The auditor's job is to verify all these documentations, all these financial statements, and finally give an opinion. What is that opinion? Whether the financial statements reflect the true and fair view of the business or not. They reflect the proper financial position of the business, the profit or loss arrived at, whether it is derived properly or not. This opinion is expected from the auditor. Further, we will learn about the features of audit. What are the features of audit? So, audit activity is a systematic and scientific examination of books of accounts. When I say systematic, the auditing is a systematic examination because it requires a professional to examine the books of accounts. He has to make an intelligent and analytical and critical examination of the books. He shall verify it from the source, apply his knowledge, and verify whether it matches with the principles, the procedures of accounting to be followed, and whether the books of accounts are prepared in adherence with the standards prescribed. Second feature of audit is auditing is concerned with inspection, checking, verification, and scrutiny. Audit work involves inspection. So it may be visiting the premises of the organization. It may be checking the documents which has been given as a documentary evidence. Let us take, I have spent 50 rupees for purchasing a book, then you have a bill. So you are verifying it again, vouching it, then verifying. So if I have claimed that I have purchased a plant and machinery worth rupees 50 lakh, then go and verify whether the plant and machine is still there. It's still in a working condition. It is certificate for the work, certificate for the same. And then scrutinize all the ledger accounts, whether it is properly posted from the journals, the balancing is properly done. All these things verification is done based upon the documentary evidences which is prepared by the accountant. Further, it requires verification of assets and liabilities. Auditor is not only going to examine the documents regarding the assets and liabilities. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇಷ್ಟು assets ಇದೆ, ಇಷ್ಟು liabilities ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ journal, ledger, bills ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. He has to make a physical inspection. He has to go to the site and check whether these assets are really there. ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ ಆ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಇದಾವೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆಯನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. The fourth feature is examination of books of accounts prepared by others. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಅನ್ನುವ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವನ ಕೆಲಸ ಏನಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಮಾಡಿದ್ದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಡನ್ by somebody else. He is only examining, he is going to only verify it. The fifth feature is independent and a qualified person will audit. So ಯಾರು XYZ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಆಡಿಟ್ ಅನ್ಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So to be termed as an audit, the audit has to be done by an independent and a qualified person. So a practicing chartered accountant who has qualified the examinations of ICAI and was the member of ICAI shall be doing the audit of the examination of books of accounts, as he or she is the qualified personnel in India to commence the audit or to complete the audit of any organization. Seventh feature is examination is based upon documentary evidences. Generally, an auditor will require invoices, receipts, vouchers, different documentation like debit notes, credit notes, statements from the bank, confirmation statements from the debtors or creditors. So informations and explanation he normally seeks from the employees of the organization who is in charge of different departments. Now, all this information he is accumulating to examine the documentation which has been done, whether they are true and correct, whether the entries which are been made are not fake. Genuineness of the transactions are verified as against the documentary evidences. Only then he will rely on the entries which has been made. Otherwise, the journal entries or the postings, the ledger accounts which are maintained will be under a doubt or which will be questioned. Audit is periodical examination. So we see that businesses follow an accounting year, that is 1 year of accounting which starts from 1st April to 31st March. An audit normally is conducted on a periodical basis. It may be once in a year, or it may be a continuous one throughout the year, or it may be interim in between, that is either on 6 months basis or 3 months basis. Quarterly verification also can be done. Depending upon the need of the organization, periodical examinations is generally conducted. It may be throughout the year or in a periodical interval. Further, the next feature of audit is ascertaining the accuracy and authenticity of the accounting information. This work, examination, verification, inspection, is with one objective, that is, he wants to know, that the auditor wants to know that the information which is contained in the financial statements is accurate. So if I have paid 500 rupees as insurance charges, 500 rupees is recorded and 500 rupees is accounted for. And authenticity, that is, the payments which have been made, the receipts which have been made, or the sales which have been made are authentic. They are not fake, they are not genuine. So if I paid some salary of 5,000 to my employee, then I have really paid the salary of rupees 5,000 to an employee who has worked for me and he has contributed for the revenue generation activity of the organization. So uh, if I pay rupees 5,000, that expense, that revenue expenditure related to the business must have contributed to the revenue generation activity of the business directly or indirectly, for which he will check the authenticity of the business regarding the payment has been done, the employee is genuine, he has received the amount. All these verification will be done by the auditor. An auditor is supposed to express his opinion. So he is here not to only to check your books of accounts and documentary evidences. Finally, he gives an opinion, and the opinion is about whether the profit and loss account gives a true and fair view of the profit or loss arrived at, whether the balance sheet gives a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the business. Auditor audit ಮಾಡಿದ್ರ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ತನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ವೆರಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮುಗಿದ ನಂತರ ಆ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ನ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಆರ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ನ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಅದು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ, ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ನ ರಿಯಲ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅದು ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನುವ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವನ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್, ಮಾಡ್ತದೋ ಇಲ್ಲವೋ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವನ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಸೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಫೀಚರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಸೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಫೀಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಡಿಟ್. ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅದು ಆಡಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ to be called an auditor must give his opinion. And lastly, audit is not just only for business concerns but also for non-business concerns. So audit may be carried on by non-profit making organizations like education institutions, trusts, or societies, uh, or it also may be for organizations carrying on businesses for philanthropic purposes, etc. So these are the features of audit. In the forthcoming classes, we will learn about advantages of auditing, disadvantages of auditing if there are any, and the objectives of auditing will be learned in the forthcoming classes. Thank you.